Hi everyone, Gary Francione for the Abolitionist Approach. I have some thoughts I wanted to share with those of you who are going to be visiting with non-vegan family over the holiday. These holidays involve a focus on food. They involve the ritual consumption of large amounts of food, and much of the food involves dead animals. So if you're visiting with your non-vegan family and you're at the table but you're not participating in that ritual consumption, you make them feel uncomfortable. You feel uncomfortable because there are dead animals on the table. We understand that. But they feel uncomfortable too because you're there, but you're not there. You're not participating in their ritual. And they translate that, however much you don't want it to be translated in this way, they translate it as a statement that your veganism is a judgment that they're bad people. And to the extent that that's what's happening in a communication, it's not productive with anyone, but particularly with your family. So to the extent that they think you're judging them or you're saying that they're bad people, they're not gonna be receptive to your thinking because they've already put up a block. So make it clear that you are not judging them, that make the distinction between judging individuals and judging actions, and you're not doing the former. What you're saying is there are certain actions in which humans engage that cannot be morally justified in your view, and explain why you think that. But in doing that, don't analogize them to Nazis or to Ku Klux Klan people or to pedophiles or to rapists. Yes, all discrimination is structurally similar. All fundamental rights violations are structurally similar. They share similarities. That doesn't mean that everybody who engages in discrimination or that everybody who engages in fundamental rights violations is the same morally. There's other there that requires a more nuanced analysis. Okay, so avoid doing that, and instead focus their attention on the fact that your veganism comes from values that they share. So, for example, if you get involved in a discussion about some animals in the news, and they're sharing with you, their view that they think it's tragic that Harambe the gorilla was shot, or that Cecil the lion was shot, or that the Lefty the little deer in Harlem a couple of days ago was killed. Explain, discuss with them, focus on their sense of tragedy in those killings, and explain to them how the only difference between them and you is that you generalize that tragedy to other animals other than those animals in the news. That basically there's no distinction between those animals and the animals who are on people's tables. Similarly, you can always, if your family, if your parents have a dog or a cat or a turtle or a rabbit or some other non-human they love who's a member of the family, discuss with them how there's no morally significant difference between the animals that they love and the animals they eat. There's no distinction whatsoever. There's no morally coherent distinction. So try to sort of focus on values that you share. Try to focus on what your parents or brothers or sisters or aunts or uncles or whatever, what sorts of values do they have about animals? And explore those and try to get them to see that your veganism comes from those values. It's not strange, it's not foreign, it's coming from those values. Okay? Try that. I think it's a better way. I'm not giving you any guarantees, but I think it's a better way of communicating with people on these issues. For more on this, go to our website, howdoigovegan.com. For information about abolition as a general matter, go to abolitionistapproach.com. You can come to our Facebook page where I and my moderators will have discussions with you about abolitionist veganism. And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you very much.